Well, hello, Venters. I have awesome news today. Stepped on the scale.
Oh, I have my keys in my pocket. No wonder.
Which means your boy has lost anywhere between 10 and 12 pounds, and I'm gonna record that right when I get back from my walk so that you guys can actually see it. I don't know if you guys can tell, but this is a shirt that one of my really good friends in this world got me. It's this Arizona Cardinal shirt. When I first wore this, it was skin tight. Now it feels loose. When you start losing weight, it gives you that little dopamine hit you need, shows you that you're on the right path. So remember, if we're 4 weeks in, we've probably got another 8 weeks left. Join us now for our 60-day walking challenge. I have 30 more pounds to lose, and I vow I'm not gonna fail. So let's say it together, Venters. I can do this, you can do this, we can do this. Let's do this. I want to tell you about somebody that's not able to do anything right now, and that's the schools out in California. Jennifer McGrath is the president of the Modesto Teachers Association, and she says that ever since the kids came back from the pandemic, they went to PBIS, which stands for Positive Behavior Intervention and Support.
Coming back to school was not easy. And so the school districts had to do a lot of quick fixes to be able to get these kids to come back to school. We kind of lessened a lot of the requirements for the students, and it doesn't take kids long to figure out that if there's a system, they're going to look for the easiest way out.
PBIS, or Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports, is the new norm, instead of what traditionally was suspension.
The children are not learning when they're sent home. They should be in school. And so that's why this practice got put into place. It's an alternative to try to deter behaviors in a positive way.
So when a child destroys a classroom like this, they're sent into the office.
They chose this route rather than the old route, which was if someone's bad, destructive, or violent, you suspend them from school. And if they keep it up, you actually expel them. Well, now what happens is somebody's disruptive in class, the teacher sends them to the principal's office, and then according to Jennifer McGrath, the principal will reward them.
They would come back with a bag of chips, or they would come back with a juice box or a prize or something.
Something McGrath says rewards the wrong type of behavior.
And then they'll actually have the nerve to send that student back to class. One of the teachers that was actually up before the school board said that not only will they do this, but sometimes they'll do it multiple times.
He has destroyed the classrooms multiple times each day, and he's able to come back to our classrooms where we've had to evacuate our students.
Behaviors like hitting, biting, and twisting fingers of both staff and students or destroying property are being overlooked and given a lighter sentence.
They are scared. Desks get flipped, chairs and objects are thrown, staff and students get punched and kicked, students elope, garbage cans and signs knocked over, bathrooms destroyed.
Because some of these kids are so damn violent. So PBIS, according to Jennifer McGrath and many teachers out there and around the country, by the way, basically they say it's more trouble than it's worth. And when you take away discipline and order, it actually hurts things. It doesn't make it better.
A lot of the norms that used to be in the classrooms as far as just some basic concepts, responsibility, respect, just following the basic rules, they were out the window.
In a statement to CBS 13, Modesto City School District says, "We have heard our teachers' concerns about student behavior, and we want our community to know we are listening. Districts across our state and country are facing similar challenges, and we are working together to strengthen support for both students and staff."
Some things have to change so that we can start educating again.
To which I say, you're sleeping with liberal leadership, and now you wonder why it burns when you pee. I'm so glad I heard that yesterday. I thought that was the funniest thing. But this is really true, guys. Leadership from the left all around the country, because there's blue cities everywhere, they come up with these really stupid ways to make things work. Then everybody goes in for their annual raise, and before you know it, everybody's failing, everybody's miserable, but all the leadership in the school still end up making out like bandits, and you find out they have these outrageous, yearly salaries. It's very frustrating. It seems like the people at the top always end up living large off of taxpayer money, and then when it comes to results, they're nowhere to be found. If you're kind of frustrated by this, because this is happening everywhere, please let me know down below. Now you might say, Jesse, school has nothing to do with real life, but it really does. A lot of these students that have major disruptive issues, it's not like they grow out of that. They go into society, they repeat those same bad behaviors, and guess what? They end up getting thrown in jail. As a matter of fact, a lot of these people will do heinous crimes, and when I'm saying these people, I mean teenagers, and then we end up putting them into a system where they still don't get in trouble. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but there's this baseball player that apparently he ended up, assaulting 2 of his classmates / girlfriends, and he's not going to even get in trouble. Now that story has nothing to do with this, so pretend like I didn't say it, but what this boils down to is kids that are literally destroying the classroom. They're violent with other students, teachers, and staff, and it's one of those things where it's like nobody is holding the true culprits accountable. Who's the true culprit, Jesse? We know who the true culprit is, guys. It's the parents. I think what they ought to do is they ought to force the parents to sit in the classroom with the kids, even if you get to the point where there's 50 parents on campus at all times. You gotta do what you gotta do to make things right. And let me tell you what would happen. These parents would go onto the campus and they would start to see that, oh my God, I've been blind and deaf to this. Our students are really failing on a large scale because there's no parental intervention. In other words, this could actually make parents get a clue on what it's like to be a good parent. When we look back at our parents and our grandparents, we tell ourselves, oh, these people were horrible, when in reality, it's the younger parents that suck. The older parents that we thought were too stern and strict, they actually were what made the world go round. Sometimes you need a parent not to be your best friend. Sometimes they need to be your parent. And that means sometimes you have to discipline. I think what went wrong is in the 90s, we started seeing kids that started divorcing their parents. And then courts actually allowed this to happen. Now, in some cases with abuse, maybe it's valid, but a lot of times it was just kids that felt like they wanted to be in control of their lives. I think more times than not, kids show us that they are not ready for that control. So since they're having children and they're not taking care of these children, and these same children are violent and destructive in the classroom, I think we ought to immediately start establishing laws that say, hey, you're going to have to go into the class with your student for 30 days until this problem clears up. And if it doesn't clear up, you're going to end up going to jail. Because here's the thing. If I have a rowdy kid and it's getting to the point where I'm doing 30-day stints in jail, I'm going to stop that kid from doing it. Okay? You know as well as I do, these parents are actually treating the schools like babysitters. And it would be one thing if your kid was at least quiet and acted decent. But if your kid's going to be breaking things in the classroom and hurting people, God, that's a criminal just waiting to happen. We should nip that in the bud immediately. And this is where sometimes you need to say, hey, our leadership, it sucks. Everything our leadership does, and again, this is me poking fun at the left, everything the left touches ends up sucking. The people on the left, you guys are a tough sale. You really are. Because you can tell you till you're blue in the face that, man, you guys really make it tough on society to be successful. And you guys don't care. You'll stick to your guns. And then when you ask people, why do you vote left? A lot of times you'll find it's for like abortion rights and for people that have blue hair and nose rings. It's like the weirdest things. And you're willing to throw away all of society for these little things. Makes absolutely no sense. And then here's the really crazy thing. They're all willing to vote conservative once they become a victim. It's just like, wow, is that really the only way people wake up? What's that saying that I heard recently from Dave Rubin? I think he said something like conservative is just a liberal person that's been mugged, right? I think that's what life is. As you get older, you start to realize, damn, it's just a matter of time before somebody does something horrible to me. That's what life is. So do you need that to happen before you start to change stuff with leadership? Or do you just want that to happen to you, and then when you try to change, you'll realize how frustrating it is because it's too late. You can't change anything. All these schools in California, what's the answer? The answer is obviously go a more conservative route. Get rid of PBIS, that's a joke. Could you imagine, let's say you're a bad, tough kid in school and you hit somebody in the back of the head. Now you should be going to jail for assault, but instead you go to Principal Johnson's office and Principal Johnson gives you a bag of chips and a Coke and a Snicker bar, and then he sends you back to class. I mean, how freaking empowering is that? Not for good students, but for bad bullies of the school. Just ridiculous. And I'll tell you what, not only should they make the parents pay for any damages the students cause, but those parents should have to go to jail until that balance of the payment is paid in full. What would this do, Jesse? I'll tell you what it would do, Bob. It would make it where problems would stop literally overnight. These things aren't like, oh, it's going to take 3 years to implement. No, you tell people that they're going to go to jail and they're going to have to pay the bill immediately, or they won't get out of jail. Problem solved. I love kids, but I hate their parents. I really do. I love kids, but I hate their parents. That's all of us, right? Because the reality is some parents let their kids get away with murder, and it's those same parents that are the reason we have kids like this. And these kids end up terrorizing everybody. And then here's the crazy thing. These teachers, they'll still vote liberal. They'll still vote Democrat. Why? Because they want to be able to wear their rainbow shirts, their purple hair, and their septum nose ring and say that they're part of the cause against the orange man. Is that the most stupid reason in the world to vote for a system that literally destroys everything it touches? Can any one of you tell me anything positive coming from the left? By the way, over the last month or two, all the left-leaning content creators will lead you to believe that President Trump is more unpopular than ever, when in reality, it's the Democrat Party that's the least popular it's ever been. And President Trump seems to get more and more popular the more he tightens the screws on crime. In other words, everybody, including Democrats, are getting tired of this bullshit. So why don't we start holding our leadership accountable? Why don't we start holding parents accountable? Why don't we start holding criminals accountable? If we got rid of all these problems, guess what? It would solve other things. There would be no food deserts. What do you mean? Well, the reason Walmart picks up and leaves is because these things start at childhood. You let these kids get away with murder, and then when they go out on the streets, they end up robbing places like Walmart blind, and before you know it, Walmart leaves the city. Again, it all goes down to poor leadership. All along the way, everything that comes from left-leaning ideology leads to destruction of society. I mean, just think about this. There's absolutely nothing good that comes out of your vote for people like Gavin Newsom. Sleep Under Me says, I feel bad for the kids that are actually behaving. I feel bad for those kids too. Could you imagine if your student or your son or daughter was actually really smart and they have to go to school like this, where they get disrupted every single day? That's going to lower your kids' IQ points. It's got to. Larac says kids used to get kicked out of school for this and have to go to continuation school. Now, I don't know what continuation school is, but I'm assuming it's kind of what we had out here in Arizona when I was younger. We called it alternative school. It was for the kids that couldn't really make it in the regular school. They needed some sort of, I guess, second way of doing things. And every time I would drive by these little alternative schools, it looked like a school full of ne'er-do-wells. It really did. It looked like a school full of little gangsters. You can't learn anything in a school like that. You just can't. That's why we got to start holding these parents accountable. I think it's disgusting when you see 16, 17, and 18-year-old kids and they're acting like they're gangsters ready to go to jail. It's just like, God, they're parents. Horrible parents. Mac6up says, as a former teacher, in some schools, they literally don't let you tell the kids no. Literally, you can't say the word no. Okay, what do we know from that statement? Mac is talking about some left-leaning school board with left-leaning practices. Can you imagine a world where you can't hear the word no? Wouldn't that be nice as an adult? Hey, can I borrow $100,000 with zero down? Yeah, sure. No, the answer is going to be no. Hey, can I have your paycheck and you can have my unemployment paycheck? The answer is going to be no. More times than not in this world, you're going to hear the word no. The first thing people should do when they find out that their school board is this backwards and stupid is they should tell the world about it. Instead, this guy's telling us in a comment after he's already gotten out of school. Why don't you be a good teacher and actually step up and tell people what's going on? Would you want your kid going to a school where they're not allowed to say the word no? So when Bob is beating up your kid, the teacher can't even say no, and nobody will intervene because they don't want to get sued? That's what schools we have in these left-leaning areas. By the way, Sacramento, Modesto, those are left-leaning areas. Lizzie6 says, when there are no consequences for inappropriate behavior and discipline isn't enforced, it's a recipe for disaster and chaos is inevitable. Melissa Dye says, give their parents a bill for the damage. Melissa, you got to do better than that, because if you give these kids' parents a $10,000 bill for damaging a classroom, they're just going to let it go on their credit report and never pay it. What you really ought to do is throw them in jail and do a work furlough until that's paid off, because then it'll solve the problem. There's so many ways we could solve problems if you think about it, but nobody ever wants to be tough enough to get it done. That's why I'm running for sheriff of Modesto County. Totally kidding. Anyway, have a great day. I'm down to 195, lost 12 pounds in about a month. You can do it too. Why? Because you guys are already walking every day with me. Cut out the sugar, drink water. Let's do it for 90 days. You're gonna lose weight after 3 or 4 weeks. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night.